Hello, listener. Unfortunately, our Lord and Master, Mr. Nathan Bouncy Ballsmith, will not be joining us this week. Just like Series 4, he has left the show in our very capable hands once more. He is on holiday, apparently. And by holiday, he means staying in bed playing sexy Batman time with his new girlfriend. This is indeed sad news. His features are the stuff of legends, and his impressions, well, what more is there to say? On the bright side, his absence does give the other hosts, Dr. and Hock, Mr. Dalek and myself, another opportunity to revisit the dizzy podcasting heights of Series 4. So, without further ado, for your listening pleasure, here's 20 seconds of fart noises. Enjoy.
We are the Holocaust.
I'm Bouncy.
I'm Dalek Sex.
I'm Dr. Hock.
Satan here.
I'm the news bot.
I'm Joystick Discharge.
I'm the man from the video shop.
Bonsoir, mes amis.
I'm Fiery Bob.
I'm Megacell Guy.
Welcome to We Are the Holocaust.
Radio Gold. I'm back.
Let's do some proper introductions, shall we? You want to go first?
Oh, yes, please. Ooh, yes, please. I'm Dr. Hock, co-host of this fair show, and joining me today is...
I'm Dalek 6, and I was a fucking legend in Gin Alley.
I'm loathed to say not joining us this week is Mr. Bouncy Bahall, because he's off on other duties. Because you, the listener, won't know any difference because you'll probably hear his voice on earlier stuff that we recorded anyway. So it fucking matters not. As long, depends how long this abstinence goes on for.
Fucking ball sack.
George R.R. Martin obviously listens to this show because he's taken up our trope of northern accents being lazy writers' shorthand for an utterly vile or ignorant character.
Fucking ballsack. Ugly, look at you stupid cunt face. Piss cocksucker's cunt.
I'd really like to see the guy who plays Jon Snow do a serious educational show.
Kit Harington, or the other Jon Snow as I see it, became considerably better known than me in the fantasy TV epic Game of Thrones. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us, Jon Snow.
Very lovely to meet you, Jon Snow.
You know nothing.
You bastard.
In which he explains complicated intellectual concepts, and sitting opposite him will just be Jon Snow's wildling girlfriend in full costume, just rubbishing everything he says. So he'll be sitting there saying, "Hello viewers, this week we're going to be talking about Aristotle's ethics," and she'll go, "You know nothing of teleology, Jon Snow."
That could work if a format wasn't based around one punchline. Maybe we could just have it on this show, because that's how we work.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
The outcome of a sentimental impulse could mean a sentence of death for the animal you love and couldn't leave behind, and for you or someone like you, death in a manner that is beyond description.
Yeah, should we have a look at Facebook?
Shall we have a look at Facebook?
Yeah, because I've been cyber stalking Bouncy's new girlfriend.
Looking at the pictures on the Facebook.
Yeah.
Let's call this feature.
Dalek looking at the pictures on the Facebook. Stalking at the pictures on the Facebook. Looking at the girls on the Facebook. Not got the friends on the Facebook.
Do you reckon? Is that a good one?
If I agree that it is, can we move on and never speak of this again?
We're not allowed to use content with any reference to Bouncy's girlfriend. We can use it in the future.
No, he said use the new woman material.
Okay, right, fine. That's all right then. So you've been stalked. This feels like an episode of Bottom. So you've been stalking on the Facebooks.
I have. I've got my stalk out now, and I'd like to read a little sort of like history of their relationship because I think it's lovely. I'm going to read the first one, and then we'll come back to it later. It says, "Have met a bloke. He doesn't know I like him yet, but I think he's really silly and nice. He's a little bit chubby, and I think he might be sensitive about it, but that's okay because I like that in a man. I think it's really appealing. We'll have to see how things go from here." So isn't that lovely? It's lovely to see Bouncy happy. We'll come back to that later on in the show.
This might run and run. It's got legs, I think.
We'll see. We'll see how these go.
Off the record, did you make that up?
Yeah, I made that up.
Hey, Bouncy! Do you wanna do a podcast? We said we'd record today. You never show up anymore. Get on the call. It's like you've gone away. We used to be best buddies, but now we're not. I wish you would tell me why. Do you wanna do a podcast? We don't have to tell Ham Hock. Okay, bye. Hey, Bouncy! Do you wanna do a podcast? You don't have to join the call. We think some solo content's overdue. We are resorting to Dalek and the news part. We're getting pretty desperate, just sitting here, watching the bank run dry. Bouncy, please, we know you're in there. The listeners are asking where you've been. They say go find him, and we're trying to get out the bedroom and stop thinking with your thing. We only have each other, it's just me and Ham Hock. What are we gonna do? Do you wanna do a podcast?
This is the news.
A beekeeper in Arizona tried to introduce 2 new queen bees into an existing hive in her back garden.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
And that went
Sorry.
well, I'm sure.
You can probably guess how that turned out.
I thought initially you said a beekeeper in Arizona introduced 2 newbies to his back garden.
No.
So is he dead now?
She.
Is he?
I don't know. Would you like me to look the story up for
Well,
you?
it would just be nice to get some closure on it, because this show's all about closure. Normally after 9 episodes, closes. While you do that, I am bringing a bit of class to the show today.
What are you drinking then?
I'm drinking.
Oh. Asti Spumante.
Last time we got together, I was drinking some ouzo, because ouzo's the sort of spirit that sits in your cupboard and outlasts everything else, because it's the most disgusting liquor in the world. No matter how sweet a mixer you put it with, you can still taste that disgusting shit through it. So I tried to hide it. I put a couple of fingers in of ouzo in a glass, then did the old orange squash trick. I thought, well, orange squash is the sweetest substance on earth. Neat. Surely that will disguise the terrible antiseptic stroke bug repellent tastes of ouzo. No. I just had to drink through it.
I wasn't actually listening to you because I was too taken with the headline from ArizonaFamily.com. 15 stung and woman hospitalised in Phoenix bee attack.
Related?
What does Phoenix bee evolve from, do you think? How many games of Dragon Coins do you have to play
I was going to say
to get the necessary fusion monsters?
Super rare. The Arizona bee.
Oh no, it'd be SR Plus. Should we have a little dip into the Facebook feed of Bouncy's girlfriend again?
I think that's a great idea.
Dalek looking at the pictures on the Facebook, stalking at the pictures on the Facebook, looking at the girls on the Facebook, not got the friends on the Facebook.
This one says, I won't give you the date or the names to protect the innocent, but
And because they don't exist probably as well.
my love does a radio show in his spare time. It's actually a podcast, but he calls it a radio show because it sounds more seriousness. But that's okay. I've listened to it, and I rather like it. It makes him very happy, and that's all that matters. Not sure about the 2 weirdos he does the show with, but they seem to make him happy, and they all seem to be good friends. So that's all that counts, really, isn't it? Now, isn't that lovely?
I know. Do you know what? It melts.
lovely?
It melts my heart. I remember back when Kelly and I used to be in that period where we would just forgive each other's idiosyncrasies and bad habits. Now she just shouts at me and basically says, "The only thing you're fucking good at is cooking." True story, actually.
I take it she's very partial to an Iceland chip and pea stack then,
Oh,
and a
who
zingy slider.
Who isn't after 2 years? Who isn't?
Who isn't?
Once that honeymoon period's over, where do you turn to? The freezer section.
Welcome to Your Problems Answered with me, your host, Agony Uncle Newsbot. I am afraid I got a little carried away last week. So sorry, I forgot to have a defrag before the show, and, well, the rest is history. Anyway, back to business. Our first problem this week was sent in from Twitter user Chris Fenman, who writes, "Dear Uncle Newsbot, how do I cope with a boss who just does not care about his staff?" Well, Chris, You have come to the right place. Our boss, Mr. Nathan Bouncy Ballsmith, not only fails to care about his staff, but fails to care for his own show. That cunt did not even bother turning up to record this podcast this week. One sniff of pussy, and he is off, like a 16-stone bloodhound, nose to the ground, tongue flapping around and his legs pumping like the pistons in a V8, only much, much more oily. Anyway, I digress. So, Chris, how do you cope with a boss who just does not care about his staff? Chris, may I suggest a bit of on-the-job training? Something which will give you a transferable skills for use in the workplace. A CV piece, and by on the job I of course mean taking a massive shit in your boss's system. And by transferable skill I mean shitting into your boss's system. And by a CV piece I of course mean a massive turd. I believe it is a skill known locally as top decking. Chris, I hope this was the kind of advice you were expecting. Have you not heard this feature before? To get the general idea how it works. Anyway, when your boss is away from his desk or vehicle, steal his house keys, then get a duplicate set cut, then bide your time until the little cunt is on holiday. In the days leading up to his departure, change your diet. Avoid vegetables or fibrous foods. Stick to high protein, high fat, highly spiced foods. And above all, avoid drinking too much fluid. The aim here is to create a bowel movement, a stool, which is rock solid, long-lasting in water and stinks to high heaven. As a rule of thumb, you will want about 10 inches of disgusting dead utter to drop. While your manager is relaxing by the pool in Magaluf, slip into his house. Go straight for the bathroom. You will be desperate for a cack by this point, so do not hang around. The last thing we want is for you to shut your undercrackers just before the main event. Approach the toilet, lift the cistern lid, drop your pants, and with your feet on the toilet seat, squat over the cistern. You must resist the urge to dump in the conventional part of the toilet. Do not back out now. Get that body hanging over the water reservoir. Within a few milliseconds you will be coiling out a fine brown trout and leaving a hibernating grizzly to stew for days. If you do end up shitting yourself mid-mission, or getting stage fright from being stared at by the family cat, you will need a contingency. In the event of an abort status, how about lifting a few floorboards and hide a raw chicken in the space below, or dropping a packet of fish fingers behind a radiator or two? Either way, assuming you successfully left your massive poo in his system, it will need to stay there for a few days, stewing, permeating, creating a horrid dung broth. By the time your boss returns from holiday, your turd will have created a 20-gallon poo tea of epic proportions, stinking out the whole house, and will be near impossible to quickly clean up or flush away without expensive professional assistance. Not even poking it with a coat hanger will help your boss this time. I hope this helps you, Chris. Very quickly, our second letter comes from a Mr. Shogun Pumba who writes, "Dear Uncle Newsbot, learn how to say my name." Charming, but to the point. I like that in a flesh bag. I am sorry, Mr. Shogun Pumba. As a kind of public apology, let me try pronouncing your name again. Live on air. Are you ready? Here I go. Mr. Shogun Bender. Well, that clears that up. Join me next time for more problems answered with me, Uncle Newsbot. If you would like your problems answered, do get in touch via the usual Holocaust outlets, or via Twitter directly at Newsbot. That is spelt MOOZEBOT. You complete set of benders.
I need some brain bleach after that. Let's have another look at Bouncy's new girlfriend's Facebook feed.
Dalek looking at the pictures on the Facebook.
Oh, this is a nice one. Joy. We have had a chat and we both feel the same way. I love him and he loves me too. I have never been so happy in my life. Everything is perfect. Wasn't that nice?
That's lovely.
Isn't it nice to have something just unironically and unmitigatedly positive on the show?
Yeah. And
I wish him well.
For fuck's sake, kill me now, before my ice-cold heart warms to room temperature.
Hi, I'm the Devil, and this is my worst person of the week who isn't David Cage.
He's a one-stop shop, makes the pennies drop. He's a sweet talking, sugar-coated candy man. A sweet talking, sugar-coated candy man. Ooh, yeah.
Here in hell, I like to give my installations a good polish now and then. Look, here's the seat made of live red ants I've got reserved for Don Matrick. Here's the Oculus Rift with spikes on the inside for Cliff Blazinski. And here's Steely Dan Mark 12, which will be my special gift to Hideo Kojima. Yes, we have a lot of reserved spaces down here. There's a level of hell for special reservations, though. The setups we have waiting that even we don't talk about, and that level is reserved for people who design and market freemium games. And in this special section of hell, there is a special place in the darkest corner reserved exclusively for people who market freemium Match 3 games to children. Frozen Freefall by Disney Interactive is a Candy Crush clone, albeit one of the new wave ones where you can move the tiles about while the other tiles are still falling. It's free to download. The ice crystals are pleasingly crunchy to clear out and make the game feel clean and addictive, and it's childishly simple to play for the first 30 screens or so. Then the difficulty curve emerges from the shadows behind the wardrobe, toting a 2-foot strap-on and a video camera, ready to pop your lower intestine through your lungs and upload a video to YouTube of you squealing that you'll give it its 69p in-app purchase if it just stops hurting you. It's difficult to pick out exactly which element of Frozen Freefall I love the most. Perhaps it's how demonstrably stripped of all joy and intelligence it is, the dead eyes of the horrible 3D models, the complete lack of any originality, the baffling absence of any songs from the film. It really is a lump of cultural detritus, adding nothing to anything, existing only to confuse children into pestering their parents for money they don't realize is real. On the other hand, perhaps it's the fact it just doesn't need to be a freemium game. Wreck-It Ralph isn't, Where's My Mickey isn't, why does Frozen, the highest grossing animation of all time, need to be? They sold 3.2 million discs the day of its home release. They could have released it as a simple purchase. Even if people wouldn't have bought it in droves because of the Frozen stamp on it, it actually is good enough to stand by itself. If you're not Candy Crushed out, it really is one of the better Match 3 games out there. So congratulations to Disney Interactive. I'm working on your installation as we speak. It'll look great next to the ducking stool that lowers you onto the cock of Joffrey from Game of Thrones, which I've got reserved for Game Loft, for putting a 70 quid in-app purchase in My Little Pony. Toot.
Have you read Aristotle's Ethics?
No. Should I?
It's quite interesting. I wouldn't recommend sitting through the whole thing, but the basic idea is teleology was the first school of philosophy ever. Aristotle was thinking about the idea, what purpose do things have? For example, the purpose of an acorn is observably and demonstrably to be a tree. Mm-hmm. And he called this the acorn's telos, hence teleology. And he believed that the telos of humans was to be happy. The thing is, though, if the happy person, if people who do not spend every waking hour contributing, sowing chaos, confusion, and mental anguish are happy, how the fuck do you explain how happy Cliff Bleszinski seems to be all the time on his Twitter feed?
Cue the music.
Just to explain things to our legion of new fans, on the Dismal Jesters and before that Podtoid, well, they still do a section called Text from Trent, in which they would pretend that Trent Reznor from the Nine Inch Nails was stalking them with a series of pathetic and confusing text messages. And I thought, surely we can do better than that. So I came up with the Cliffy Tweets, which was Cliff Bleszinski's of Gears of War fame Twitter feed. A tweet is essentially a text that you send to the entire of the human race. And they were even funnier than the text from Trent, and better artistically for not having been made up.
So, what have you got for us?
This one's actually from last month, and I ended up not using it last time, but May the 4th, you know how people say May the 4th be with you?
Yes.
May the 4th feels so forced.
Is he right?
Am I wrong? You see, Cliffy's subversive.
Again, but it's wrong.
It is wrong, yes.
I understand what he's trying to do because it's a lot of volume around the 4th of May being all Star Warsy and so on, and at the end of the day, it's just a bit of a weak pun. You're going to struggle to say anything unique in the land of the internets when you're trying to subvert May the 4th. May the 4th be with you and all that.
I just can't bring myself to make Star Wars jokes when H.R. Giger's dead.
What? Next thing you'll be saying is that he tripped down the stairs and died or something.
I don't know how he died, actually.
He tripped down the stairs and died.
Oh, well, that's frankly anticlimactic, Hog.
It was a little
Did he fall down the stairs and impale himself on a sculpture of a giant spiky nightmare dong?
I'd like to think so. I
like to think of the Giga dying that way in the same way that I like to think of one day Bouncy killing Jim Sterling with a crossbow. And
I think we made a Giga counter joke last week.
How am I coming across?
It's an interesting kind of crackling noise there.
Is that better?
Like an alien egg opening up.
Yeah.
Whatever. Are you radioactive, Bouncy?
It's a Giga counter.
Oh!
If with him gone, the Giga counter's reading 0.
Well, that makes you a Giga cunter. My wife is nervous and losing her shit about watching herself on TV. Hashtag noob, smiley face.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear. None for Cliffy tonight.
It's a bit self-indulgent, that one as well.
Hashtag Norwegian wood.
She looks like a promo girl anyway. I'm sure she's used to being in front of the lens. Soft focus, bit of Vaseline around the lens, if they still do that.
In Cliffy's basement.
Chained up.
With the family dog.
And some Marmite.
Allegedly. Okay, I've got one more Cliffy tweet because I don't really want to dwell on him.
Oh, really?
This week.
Only one?
But Cliffy has got hold of one of those awful pieces of artwork for idiots, the kind of lithograph prints or printed on a beer mat or a plate that they sell in the Sunday supplements. You know the kind of thing?
Yes.
The kind that are often ridiculed by our beloved organ Viz. This one is called The Forgotten Man.
Oh.
And it's a guy with his head hung in defeat. Looks a little bit shabby, sitting on a park bench. But the founding fathers are standing around him, holding their hands out to him, gesturing at him as if to say, "What the fuck, man?" And Obama is standing with his back turned and his arms crossed, all impressive. And he's all like, "Well, fuck your shit." And one of the founding fathers is actually crouched over with his knees bent and his hands held out in what appears to be a Dragon Ball pose. And it looks like he's going, "Oh yeah!" Yeah, but Cliffy's got hold of this and he's tweeted it. And would you like to know what he has to say about it?
I guess that's the point of this section of the show.
He says, "Barack Obama doesn't care about sad Keanu. Thanks, Obama."
I was hoping the Forgotten Man would be a little painting of Cliffy B crouched down outside E3 with no one to go to, no one to speak to. The games industry just left him out on the street, on the gutter. The man they'd like to forget, they're trying to forget.
Perhaps we should do a charity advert for him. The kind that always comes on at tea time. For just £2 a month, you could keep a Cliffy B in broadband internet. Should we have one more dip into Bouncy's girlfriend's Facebook before we go?
Why not?
Dalek looking at the pictures on the Facebook, stalking at the pictures on the Facebook, looking at the girls on the Facebook, not got the friends on the Facebook.
Oh dear.
Oh.
It looks like things have gone a bit wrong. Let me just read what it says. Disaster. My life is over. My love is leaving me. We are splitting up. He is moving to America to become the chief reviewer on a blog and later on reviews editor for Destructoid, and possibly he might do a podcast later with Jonathan Holmes and Comrade Zimmerman. Brackets, it's Jim Sterling. That is where I was going with this. I will never be able to love again. Even if I do find another roly-poly British man with a podcast, and what is the chances of that happening twice in Wisbeach? I have been totally ruined for all other men, and even if I do, I will be thinking of him, brackets, and yes, I do mean graphically and sexually, close brackets, and only the occasional faraway look in my eye and wistful smile will ever tell the truth that this wasn't the ending I wanted. Oh, well, that's a shame.
See you next week, folks.
これからみんなでめちゃくちゃ踊って騒ごう騒ごう。
Hey, banger.
Can I do a couple of shout-outs?
A big shout-out. A holler.
A holler. I'd like to give a holler to my niggas at the Vita Boys. I was on their show this week. That's going to go up as soon as they've sorted their hosting out. I'm
very much looking forward to that.
I think they are at PS Vita Boys. It's great because they're called the Vita Boys, so I can sing "The Vita Bus is Coming."
Don't tempt me. Do not tempt me.
I have one more. Marcus Yamaguchi, also known as Epic Name Bro. Marcus is currently twiddling his thumbs in America while the government drag their feet over the green card for his wife and baby daughter, and he had to miss her first birthday this month. So he's a bit down about that. I just wanted to say, The thoughts of the community are with you, sir. Not that you probably ever hear this. But if you do like Dark Souls, just jump on there and throw him a good wish. Because bad shit is happening to a good person who gives us lots of entertainment.
You're being very nice this week. We should have we should remove Bouncy from the conversation more often. And plus, last week's show didn't really feature much of you, so it'd be nice to. Although the show before, you were
most of me ended up on the carpet. Remove a couple of chunks of lung from the carpet sweeper.
Yeah, it goes in waves. I'd like to do a big shout out of myself, of my own. Stupidly, the Mature Gamer podcast Night Shift, which is like an offshoot podcast who do kind of podcasting properly, with interviews and things like that. Stupidly, invited me to be on their show this week. I have no idea how that will come out, but good luck to them. And if you want to check them out, you can catch them on Twitter, or that's at MGP Night Shift, all one word. They're a good bunch, and they do a really nice show.
On that note, we're off to commit triple suicide.
If you walk through the garden, you better watch your back. Well, I beg your pardon, walk a straight and narrow track.
Which leads us conveniently onto some crack that you've been dealing across the internet over the past probably 10 days now. Dalek was working the corners recently, shilling what can only be described as something more addictive than meth.
Shaking what my Sega gave me.
And in turn, the addicts that he has created have gone on to shill their junk to other.
But for the purposes of the Holocaust Network, which is to say, we are the Holocaust, our sister show, the Mature Gamer Podcast, the Games Cast, the Night Shift, and all of our other feeder shows. I am basically patient zero here.
That's a nice way of describing it. For the benefit of, just being entertaining and not being vague, what are we talking about, Dalek?
I think Tycho from Penny Arcade said it best. Coin pusher machines, like pinball, utilise aggregate state and physics manipulation gameplay. And Dragon Coins is what happens when you combine that with role-playing game combat and progression, because you are a fucking arsehole. He also said, within a round or two, you will feel its hand upon your throat.
I said earlier that I commented earlier to Dalek that Dragon Coins is like that description that the Holocaust Devil gave of a cookie clicker clone back in.
Sorry, you're breaking up a bit. The Devil gave of a what?
The Devil. What did I say?
The Devil gave the description he gave of. What did you say?
The cookie clicker clone.
Sorry, one more time.
Cookie clicker clone.
Bit faster.
Cookie clicker clone.
Very impressive.
I'm useless with tongue twisters, trust me. Just ask the number of pheasants I've fucked. The pleasant pheasants that I fucked. Anyway, so I likened it to the cookie clicker clone that the Devil was talking about in this series, episode 1, in that it pushes all the pleasure centres of your brain.
And I've stripped it down to just the elements that push the pleasure centres of your brain. It's addictive beyond drugs. Turu!
Certainly does. I woke up in the middle of the afternoon yesterday. I thought, oh well, may as well have a quick go on Dragon Coins. 1 hour later, an hour had just mysteriously fallen off the clock, and my brain was swimming in adrenaline, so I couldn't go back to sleep.
If you could imagine the they're called coin dozers, the 2p, 10p machines that have...
They were called penny falls when I was young enough for Jimmy Savile, but too old for Rolf Harris.
As Dalek said, if you just imagine the slight randomness of the strategies that you employ to get more coins out of that game, multiply it by Magic the Gathering, and then present it by Sega, and that's...
And it's also Pokemon.
Pokemon, and put it in your pocket, and bye-bye. Thankfully, it was the last week at work, because I'm moving jobs. And thankfully, I had fuck all to do, because that game was likely to get me the sack after any length of time.
It's certainly written warning material.
I'm not quite sure what the end game is, and I'm not sure whether I'll still be playing it in a couple of months' time, but I don't give a damn. Who cares? Who cares about sleep? Who cares about relationships? Who cares about jobs? I'm trying to level up my little
ponycorn.
We are the Holocaust.
You have been listening to We Are the Holocaust. Follow us at www.holocaust.co.uk.